Michael, Joe Biden said yesterday that his campaign is Scranton versus Park Avenue. Why is he going with this divide and conquer approach? That's Trump's thing. What about a message for all Americans? I don't live on Park Avenue, but I live pretty close to it. And you know how I got there? Working my butt off. He doesn't want my vote?
Won't somebody please think of the rich people? That's the narrative you're getting from MSNBC, from Stephanie Ruhle on that network at least, as well as people like Soledad O'Brien, about Joe Biden's tweet last night where he said this election is between Scranton and Park Avenue. It's Scranton versus Park Avenue. And Joe Biden represents the working class town of Scranton, and Donald Trump represents the uber elite and exclusive Park Avenue in New York City. And he's trying to draw on essentially this class politics, which is something that Bernie Sanders and indeed even James Carville suggested that Joe Biden do at least a little bit more as we approach the end of this campaign to really energize the broad and diverse American working class against the elite that Donald Trump represents. And I'm under no illusion that Joe Biden actually believes this. I think it's somewhat cynical, but it's good politics. Nonetheless, if you look at the Democratic media elite, the quote-unquote progressive media elite, they see this as awful. They see this as an attempt to divide Americans. They see this as, what Donald Trump does. He tears us apart rather than bring us together. That rich people are Americans too, and that rich people's votes matter too, and that, Joe Biden shouldn't be looking down upon the rich. And you heard that in the clip, basically, where she's like, I'm from near Park Avenue. Does Joe Biden not think I matter? Does Joe Biden not think my vote matters? And Soledad O'Brien basically did the same thing when she responded to Joe Biden's tweet about Scranton versus Park Avenue, and I want to read it to you. She said here, or both. New York City's Park Avenue is amazing. No need to knock it. Would be nice to have a president who sees every American as worth fighting for. Thank you. And then there's a comment here, which I think is fantastic. He says he's just using it as a shorthand for overprivileged people who skate by without consequences. This is not something to pick a fight over. I would agree. And then she responds again by saying, don't disagree, but maybe rephrase it. It's never X versus Y. It's just America. That's it. Work for everyone, help the most vulnerable, manage crises, don't lie, hire honest people, follow the rule of law, bring out the best, not the worst in our fellow citizens. That's it. Like, she doesn't get it. Like, look, Joe Biden doesn't actually believe in the class-based message that he tweeted. At least that's my perspective. But it's good politics, and it actually represents the truth. America cannot be brought together as long as there's such deep, entrenched inequality. There's no such thing as just America. There are fundamental inequalities and conflicts that cannot be reconciled with tweets, with rephrasing tweets or speeches or campaign materials differently. There are rich people who have more, will earn more in an hour or in a day than many people will earn in their entire lives, or that their entire family will take generations to earn. And it's not because those rich people are so much better or so much harder working than those working in middle class families. It's just not the case. There are fundamental inequalities, and Joe Biden is right. This election, all elections really are places like Scranton versus places like Park Avenue. Now, again, from my perspective, maybe no one really ever represents Scranton. It's just two politicians that both represent Park Avenue, but maybe in different ways, unless we had someone like Bernie on the ticket. But I think it's a good message. And it's so telling that these are the exact sorts of people that told us time and again, look, you need someone like Joe Biden. You need someone like Joe because, when push comes to shove, he gets Midwestern people. He gets people outside of the big city blue bubbles. He gets people outside of New York. He gets people outside of LA, outside of Chicago, outside of Seattle. He gets people in quote unquote flyover country, whatever you want to call it, and no one else gets them like Joe Biden. Now, of course, Bernie did as well, but they didn't like Bernie Sanders, so they tried to create that juxtaposition. Only Joe Biden understands the working class in industrial communities or in former industrial communities. And when Joe Biden tries to lean into that, again, whether you believe Joe or not, they snap back at him. It's the biggest mistake he ever could have made. And it just shows that these people won't even give an inch, a centimeter, a nanometer to working class people and their needs, or even their campaign messaging. It's not enough that they got a neoliberal candidate. It's not enough that they quashed Medicare for all. They quashed a Green New Deal. They quashed all of the things that young, diverse, progressive, voters and activists wanted in this election. That's not enough for the MSNBC crew. That's not enough for Ruhle and O'Brien. They don't even want their candidate to pretend to talk about class inequality in the United States. They don't even want someone to pretend to know the reality facing their eyeballs. Again, you might not think Joe Biden's actually going to do anything about it, but Biden is right that there are fundamental divides. And he noted it last night as well, where he said, look, the economic recovery is uneven. There are people in this country that are not benefiting from the quote-unquote good economic times. Even before the shutdown slowed everything down and the stock market was hot, a majority of Americans either own no shares or own a very insignificant amount of them. And so the people that really benefit from a hot stock market are the Park Avenue folks and not the Scranton folks. And so when Biden points out that reality, he's 100% right. His solutions might not actually solve the problem, but he's right in noting it. And you just see these neoliberal hacks mad at Biden because even though he agrees with their premise that we shouldn't solve this issue, they don't even want to have to hear that there's a problem in the first place. They're so cocooned in their bubbles. They're so cocooned in the lie they've built for themselves that all Americans are united, and the orange man, the orange Cheeto is the only reason why we don't all love one another. And, back in 2015, there was no such thing as conflict between Americans. Like that Joe Biden even just referencing it just shatters their worldview. So I hope Biden does more of this because I think it's good politics. I want to see him be president over Trump. I would love if he actually meant what he said. But, at the very least, every time I get to see MSNBC, pundits freak out, it's a good day for me. And since Bernie's been out of the race, it doesn't happen very often. So if Biden can at least throw me a bone every now and then, I'll be pretty thankful.